Most of the things we spend time worrying about never actually come to pass. Have you ever noticed that? Think back to the last time you lost sleep over something, a stressful meeting, a small mistake, or maybe just a vague fear about what the future might bring. But once that moment passed, you probably realized it wasn't nearly as bad as you had imagined. That's the mind's trap. It exaggerates, inflates, and pulls us into a cycle of anxiety and overthinking. But here's the good news. You don't have to stay stuck in that invisible cage. Through the wisdom of Stoicism, you can learn to free yourself from negativity and reconnect with the calm that's already within you. And you might be surprised by how simple it really is. This isn't just abstract theory. These are real lessons I've gathered from first-hand experience, practical methods that helped me break free from anxiety, overcome negative thoughts, and restore balance in my life. Over the next 40 minutes, I'll guide you through each step with clarity and purpose. So stay focused and don't miss a thing. Mental freedom is closer than you think, and the journey starts right now. Number 1. Understand how your mind works to avoid its traps. The human mind, much like an invisible processor, is constantly at work, identifying, analyzing, and reacting to the world around us. However, what many don't realize is that while we believe we are in control of our emotions and decisions, our brains can subtly create hidden traps. These traps aren't always easy to recognize, yet they are often the root causes of anxiety, negative thoughts, and the overthinking that so many of us experience. In Stoicism, understanding how the mind functions is key to breaking free from these traps. Have you ever wondered why, no matter how hard you try, your mind keeps dwelling on negative thoughts or worrying endlessly about the future? This isn't just random. Neuroscience has shown that the human brain tends to fall into cycles of automatic negative thinking, especially when faced with stress or uncertainty. Think of your brain as a massive filter for information, but sometimes this filter works against you, focusing only on the negative, the uncertain, and completely overlooking opportunities or possible solutions. This is one of the most common mental traps, the brain's tendency to fixate on negativity, a habit deeply rooted in survival instincts. A key player in this process is the amygdala, a part of the nervous system responsible for processing strong emotions like fear, anxiety, and stress. When we encounter a potential threat, the amygdala activates, sending out warning signals, a natural reflex meant to protect us. However, in today's world, where real dangers are much less frequent, the amygdala still reacts intensely, keeping us in a state of constant anxiety, even when there's no real threat present. Thoughts like, "What if I fail?" or "What if I get criticized?" are often not realistic concerns, but exaggerated reactions of the brain when faced with uncertainty. So, how do we escape this mental trap? According to Stoicism, the answer lies in awareness. The moment you realize that negative thoughts aren't absolute truths, but simply automatic responses from your brain, you begin to regain control. It's like seeing a shadow in a dark room. You might initially mistake it for something dangerous, but once you turn on the light, you realize it's just an old chair. The fear wasn't real, it was just your brain reacting to an unclear situation. One powerful way to recognize these mental traps is mindfulness. Research has shown that practicing mindfulness strengthens awareness and helps reduce the impact of negative emotions. When you step back and observe your thoughts without judgment, you start to see them as passing clouds, temporary and separate from your true self. For instance, instead of letting work-related worries consume your mind, you can recognize them, step back, and consciously choose to stop before spiraling deeper into anxiety. As Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This means that while you may not always control what happens in life, you always have the power to control how you respond. One of the biggest mental traps we fall into is simply being unaware of how our minds operate. Once you identify your thought patterns, you gain the ability to step back and choose a different path, rather than being pulled into the cycle of negativity and anxiety. To illustrate, imagine receiving a work call informing you of a major issue with your project. Your initial reaction might be stress and worry, instantly imagining worst-case scenarios. But if you pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what can I do right now to improve this situation? You shift from panic to problem solving. Instead of allowing anxiety to take control, this proactive awareness allows you to take meaningful action. Think of the human mind as a boat sailing on the sea. The water isn't always calm. Waves of anxiety and worry can crash in at any moment. But you are not the boat. You are the one steering it. And if you understand how your mind works, you can navigate steadily, keeping the stormy waves from pushing you toward the shore of despair. Number 2, reconstruct your thoughts with logic, not emotions. When anxious or negative thoughts take hold of your mind, when feelings of insecurity, stress, or anger begin to overwhelm you, have you ever stopped to ask yourself, can I choose to think differently? The answer is yes, you can. In these moments, it's easy to become trapped in a spiral of emotions and overthinking. But within each of us lies a hidden power that we have full control over, our reason. In modern life, anxiety and negative thoughts are common. These emotions are not our enemies, but they are also not the best guides on our journey of self-growth. Strong emotions like fear, anger, or sadness can cloud our judgment, making it difficult to see reality clearly. We often categorize emotions as either good or bad, when in truth, emotions are simply signals our body sends us, not inherently virtuous or evil, but rather reflections of our reactions to the world around us. When confronted with negative emotions, the first step is to recognize and name them. Instead of letting emotions dictate our actions, we must understand that they are just one piece of our perception. Take nervousness before an interview, for example. Instead of allowing anxiety to consume you, approach it rationally. This is a normal response to the unknown, but it does not mean I won't perform well. Anxiety isn't the enemy. It's simply a signal prompting you to prepare more effectively. Neuroscience supports this idea. Studies have shown that when we acknowledge and accept our emotions, the brain's stress response decreases, allowing us to think more clearly. Research also indicates that simply naming your emotions, saying, I feel anxious, helps separate feelings from reality, preventing them from taking control of your actions. In psychology, this method is known as emotional labeling. Once you've identified and named your emotions, the next step is to reshape your thoughts using reason. Every emotion influences the way we think, and if we allow emotions to take the lead, we can easily fall into cycles of anxiety, negativity, or impulsive reactions. But by applying reason, we gain the ability to shift our perspective and choose a better response. For instance, if you're facing a stressful situation at work, instead of sinking into negativity, ask yourself, is this truly an unsolvable problem? What can I do to improve the situation? Approaching challenges logically allows you to move beyond stress and focus on real solutions. Think about the successful people you admire. It's not that they never experience negative emotions, it's that they've learned how to regulate their thinking. Consider an athlete before a big competition. They might feel nervous or tense, but they don't allow these emotions to take control. Instead, they acknowledge their anxiety, name it, and then use logic to refocus on their preparation and performance. True self-mastery comes when we learn to separate emotion from reason. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or treating them as enemies. Emotions are a fundamental part of being human. The real question is whether we control them or they control us. Imagine emotions as powerful waves. If you don't know how to stay balanced and steer your boat, you risk being swept away. But if you understand the waves and learn how to navigate them, you can use their force to propel yourself forward. What truly matters is not whether you feel anxious or afraid, but whether you allow those emotions to dictate your life. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can always control how we respond. And that ability to choose our response is the foundation of resilience. Emotions are not obstacles, they are opportunities, chances for us to grow stronger with every decision we make. As Seneca wisely put it, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Understanding this principle is crucial for the next lesson, breaking free from toxic thought patterns. The words we tell ourselves can either lift us up or keep us chained down. If we're not careful, we risk becoming our own worst enemy. So how do we break this cycle of negativity? Let's explore that next. Number 3. Break the chains of negative self-talk. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, "Why am I never good enough?" or "Why do I always fail?" Those whispers, those repeating voices in your mind, they don't come from anyone else. They come from you. Without realizing it, you may be the one trapping yourself in a cycle of self-doubt and negativity. These thoughts are like invisible shackles, keeping you bound in anxiety, overthinking, and a sense of helplessness. But here's the truth. You have the power to break free. I know this because I was once a prisoner of my own mind. As a child, I constantly compared myself to others, always feeling like I wasn't enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, just not enough. Every mistake felt like proof of my failures, and I blamed myself relentlessly. I convinced myself that I was useless, that I could never change my life. Then one day I came across a quote by Epictetus: "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." Those words hit me like a wake-up call. I realized that my greatest suffering didn't come from the outside world. It came from the way I spoke to myself. Negative self-talk was at the root of my anxiety and overthinking, and if I allowed those thoughts to control me, I would remain trapped in self-doubt and fear forever. I knew I had to take back control. Step 1. Identify the hidden enemies in your mind. You can't fight an enemy you don't recognize, so I started paying attention to my inner dialogue. Every time I caught myself being self-critical, I wrote down exactly what I was thinking. The first time I did this, I was shocked. I had never realized just how cruel I was to myself. The words on the page weren't coming from a critic or an enemy. They were my own. And that's when I knew I had to make a change. Step 2. Challenge your thoughts with logic. Whenever a negative thought surfaced, I asked myself, is this absolutely true? For example, when I made a mistake at work and my mind screamed, "I'm so stupid. How could I mess up like that? Everyone will think I'm useless." I paused. Was that really the truth? Did one mistake define my entire worth? Hadn't I succeeded before? Hadn't I learned and grown? If a friend made the same mistake, would I be this harsh toward them? If not, why was I being so cruel to myself? Step 3. Rewire your self-talk. I realized that words hold power, the power to either build me up or tear me down. If I kept repeating negative thoughts, they would shape my reality. But if I replaced them with positive ones, I could change how I saw myself. So I stopped saying, "I failed," and started saying, "I just learned something valuable." I stopped saying, "I'm not good enough," and started saying, "I'm on a journey of growth." These words may seem small, but when repeated, they shifted my mindset and eventually my actions. Step 4. Take action. Changing my thoughts wasn't enough. I had to act. I pushed myself to do things I once feared. I used to be terrified of failure, convinced that people would judge me. But then I realized no one cared as much as I thought. When I spoke up, when I tried and failed, the world didn't collapse. I wasn't rejected, mocked, or dismissed. The fears that had held me back for so long were nothing more than shadows I had created in my own mind. And then, one day, I looked back and saw that the chains that had once held me down were gone. I no longer punished myself for making mistakes. I no longer let negative thoughts dictate my life. I realized something powerful. I am not my failures. I am not my fears. I am the one who chooses how I think, feel, and act. What about you? Are you allowing negative self-talk to imprison you? If so, remember, you have the power to break free. Right now, try this simple exercise. Say one positive thing about yourself. Just one. And if you repeat it every day, you'll start to notice a change, not just in how you see yourself, but in how you experience the world. If this message resonated with you, if it made you pause, reflect, or even smile, let me know by hitting like. And if you want to continue learning simple yet powerful ways to transform your mindset, subscribe now. Personal growth starts with small steps, and I'll be right here, walking this journey with you. Number 4. Shift your focus from problems to solutions. Life isn't a smooth road. Every one of us will face moments where everything seems to collapse. Work pressures, broken relationships, failures that feel crushing, or simply feeling so lost that we don't know what to do next. And in those moments, our minds often fall into a vicious cycle. Why is this happening to me? Do I deserve this? What should I do now? Pause. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask, am I focusing on the problem or am I searching for a solution? If all your energy goes into complaining about your circumstances, if you allow yourself to be consumed by helplessness, what are you really doing? You are trapping yourself in a cycle of anxiety and negativity. But if you shift your focus, if you take a deep breath, look at your own hands and say, all right, what can I do right now? That is the moment you take back control of your life. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Obstacles are not roadblocks. They are the very path to growth. Imagine you're sailing across the ocean when suddenly a storm strikes. You have two choices. Sit still, let the waves toss you around, and watch your boat sink. Grip the oars, adjust your course, and use the storm itself to push forward. This is the essence of Stoicism, not avoiding problems, but using them as tools for transformation. How to apply this in real life? Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Is there something making you feel stuck, stressed, or overwhelmed? Maybe it's a work-related challenge, financial struggles, or just a lingering sense of unease that follows you every day. Now, write it down. Yes, put it on paper. Then ask yourself these 3 crucial questions. What part of this situation can I control? What is one small step I can take right now? If I focused on solutions instead of problems, how would I act differently? This isn't just a theoretical exercise. It's a technique that has transformed thousands of lives. A friend of mine fell into depression after losing his job. He felt worthless, drained of motivation. But instead of drowning in negativity, he made a decision. He started learning a new skill, connecting with inspiring people, and rebuilding his life one step at a time. A year later, he didn't just find a new job, he found a better one. More importantly, he built an unshakable mindset. He told me, "The day I stopped focusing on the problem and started looking for solutions was the day I took back my life." The power of memento mori. A simple but powerful Stoic practice is memento mori. Remember that you will die, not to make you fearful, but to remind you that time is finite. You don't have the luxury of wasting it on negative thoughts or dwelling on things you cannot change. Instead, imagine a future version of yourself, stronger, calmer, and ready to face any challenge. What would that version of you do right now? Act accordingly. Every moment you have a choice. You can stay stuck in worry, or you can take action. You can let problems define you, or you can find solutions. When you shift your focus from problems to solutions, you don't just free yourself from anxiety. You open a new path, a path where you are in control, not a victim of circumstances, but the creator of your own destiny. So right now, ask yourself, what will I choose to focus on? By answering this, you've already completed more than half the journey. Congratulations. Not everyone has the patience or the mindset to invest in shifting their perspective. The fact that you're still here proves your willingness to break free from worry and negativity. But don't stop now. Every part of this journey is a piece of a bigger picture. A picture of a mind that is resilient, unshaken by life's storms. Keep going. You're closer than you think. Number 5. Embrace silence as a path to clarity and peace. Stillness, the very thing we often avoid, is the key to breaking free from anxiety, overthinking, and negativity. But this freedom doesn't come from ignoring your emotions or escaping your mind. It comes from facing them head-on, understanding them, and ultimately mastering them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. Nowhere is more tranquil than your own mind if you learn how to guide it." Yet, most of us let our minds become a battlefield where negative thoughts run wild. To change that, you must learn to lead your mind into stillness. Stop reacting, start observing. If you react to every negative thought the moment it arises, you'll never have the chance to observe it, understand it, or gain control over it. Instead of frantically seeking distractions to numb your worries, try sitting with them. Watch them without resistance. Acknowledge their presence. Allow them to pass. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to be free, do not wish for things to happen as you want them to happen. Wish for things to happen as they do happen, and your life will go smoothly." True freedom comes from accepting life as it is, rather than fighting against it. This means acknowledging the presence of anxiety, but refusing to let it dictate your actions. The power of stillness in a noisy world. Have you ever sat in a quiet room only to find that your mind is louder than ever? That's because we rarely experience true stillness. We live in a world flooded with information, news, social media, emails, conversations. We are constantly consuming, but we forget to digest. Stillness is not the absence of sound. It is the absence of impulsive reaction. Picture your mind as a lake. If you keep throwing stones into the water, the surface will ripple endlessly, distorting everything it reflects. But if you pause, if you allow the water to settle, you will see with perfect clarity. Mastering your emotions. Through silence. A still mind makes wiser decisions. Most of our suffering doesn't come from reality itself. It comes from how we perceive it. When something unpleasant happens, you have a choice. Let it overwhelm you. Meet it calmly and learn from it. If someone says something hurtful, pause before reacting. If a stressful situation arises, breathe before responding. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week, a month, a year? Most of the time, the answer is no, and if that's the case, why let it steal your peace now? A simple practice, 5 minutes of stillness. Take a moment right now, turn off all distractions, close your eyes, listen to your breath. Watch your thoughts as an observer, without judgment, without reaction. How do you feel? You can do this every day, spending just 5 to 10 minutes in complete stillness. Not to think, not to solve problems, but simply to be with yourself. When you do, you'll realize that peace is not something to chase. It has been within you all along. Peace is always within reach. Peace is not a distant destination. It is not a reward reserved for the strongest, the smartest, or the most successful. Peace is simply a state of being, one that you can access at any moment, as long as you allow yourself to pause and embrace it. When you practice stillness each day, you begin to notice the small yet significant changes. Your breath deepens, your mind slows down. A quiet sense of serenity weaves itself into each moment. The worries and pressures of life still exist, but they no longer control you as they once did. You come to realize that rather than trying to control everything, sometimes the best thing you can do is let go and allow life to unfold naturally. Start now. Choose stillness. Choose peace. This practice requires nothing but your presence. No perfect setting, no ideal timing. Just you in this very moment, willing to accept yourself fully. Whether in the midst of chaos or in the embrace of stillness, peace is a choice. And you have the power to choose it. Right now. Number 6. Find strength in emotional detachment. There is a simple yet powerful truth. Your emotions do not define you. You are not your sadness. You are not your anxiety. You are not the negative thoughts that torment your mind at night. You are the one experiencing them, but you are not them. This is the core mindset of Stoic philosophy, and it is also the key to finding strength through emotional detachment. The river of emotions. Observe, don't drown. Imagine standing beside a rushing river. Your emotions, worry, anger, fear, are like logs floating on the surface. If you jump in and cling to them, you'll be swept away. But if you stand on the shore and simply observe, you'll see them drift past. None of them can truly hold you unless you allow them to. You can acknowledge your emotions without being consumed by them. If someone makes you angry, it is not because they have the power to control your emotions. It is because you have given them that power. The same is true for all emotions, anxiety, fear, stress. No one can make you feel anything without your consent. Detachment is not suppression. Emotional detachment does not mean ignoring or suppressing emotions. It means learning to observe them without letting them take control. When you're caught in a storm, fear is natural. But if you watch the storm from a distance, you'll see that it is just one small part of a much bigger picture. I've realized that when I stop reacting impulsively to my emotions, I gain the ability to choose how I respond to them. How to practice emotional detachment. 1. Acknowledge your emotions without judgment. When you feel anxious, instead of saying, "I'm too stressed, I can't handle this," try saying, "I am experiencing anxiety, but it is only a temporary state." This creates space between you and your emotions, preventing them from overwhelming you. 2. See your emotions as passing clouds. Imagine your emotions as clouds in the sky. They come, they shift, and then they leave. When you recognize that emotions are fleeting, you no longer feel trapped by them. 3. Pause before reacting. When a negative emotion arises, take a deep breath. Pause. Don't react immediately. Ask yourself, will this matter to me in a month? A year? When you gain perspective, you'll realize that most of your worries, anger, or pain aren't worth your energy. Reclaiming your power. I used to be easily controlled by my emotions. A careless comment could weigh on my mind for hours. A small failure could make me torture myself for days. But when I started practicing emotional detachment, I reclaimed control over my life. I realized no one could hurt me unless I allowed it. Nothing could break me unless I let it. Try it now. Think about something that has recently made you anxious or upset. Now, picture yourself watching your emotions from a distance, like a character in a movie. Do you see that the emotion is not you? Do you see that it is just a passing reaction with no real power unless you give it power? We cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. And when you learn to separate yourself from your emotions, you will discover a strength you never knew you had, a strength that has been within you all along, waiting for you to claim it. Take back control. Right now. You do not have to be trapped in anxiety or negativity. You can stand firm in the storm. You can choose calm over chaos, clarity over confusion. Affirm your decision now by saying, "I am in control," because the moment you acknowledge your power, you take a giant step out of the cycle of worry and negativity. You choose to rise, to observe rather than be swept away, to take charge instead of being a victim of your emotions. And that is true power. Number 7, liberate yourself by embracing the unknown. Imagine yourself standing before a grand door. Beyond it lies a place you've never been, a world entirely unfamiliar, where nothing is predictable. Will you open the door, or will you hesitate, paralyzed by fear, afraid of what might be on the other side? Fear of the unknown is a prison. One of the greatest chains that hold us back is the fear of uncertainty. It fills us with anxiety about the future. It traps us inside our comfort zones. It makes us prisoners of our own doubts. Yet the most remarkable truth is this: everything extraordinary in life stems from the unknown. Look back on your own journey and you'll realize every pivotal moment, every bold decision, every unforgettable experience was once something completely uncertain. Why do we fear the unknown? Because human nature craves certainty. We seek security in the familiar. We want control over what happens next. We fear failure before we even try. But the irony is, the more we try to control everything, the more anxious we become. Our minds conjure worst-case scenarios, fabricating fears that may never materialize. We obsess over what could go wrong, instead of focusing on what could go right. Life is uncertain, and that's the beauty of it. The truth is, you can plan, but you can never control everything, and that's what makes life so incredible. The surprises, the infinite possibilities, the magic of what you never saw coming. If you truly want to free yourself from anxiety and self-doubt, learn to embrace uncertainty. Lessons from nature. Move forward. Anyway, look at nature, and you'll see that every living creature moves forward despite the unknown. A bird doesn't know exactly where it will find food tomorrow, yet it still spreads its wings and flies. A river doesn't know its final destination, yet it continues to flow. So why do we, with our intelligence and creativity, allow fear to confine us within limits of our own making? Think back. When did you fear the unknown? Remember a time when you were afraid to take a step into uncertainty, a new job, a life-changing decision, leaving behind the familiar. But in the end, you adapted, you learned, and maybe you became stronger than ever before. If so many of your past worries never came true, why keep worrying about the future? How to embrace the unknown without fear. 1. Accept that you don't need all the answers. Stop waiting for certainty before taking action. If you wait for the perfect moment, you will never begin. 2. Focus on what you can control. You can't control everything, but you can control how you respond. 3. Let go of the illusion of control. Trying to predict every outcome only creates stress. Instead, Trust yourself to adapt along the way. Walking into the unknown is not recklessness, it's courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision that something is more important than fear. Walking an uncertain path is not reckless, it is an act of conscious courage. The courage to try, learn, adapt. The most successful people are not those who have everything figured out. They are the ones who embrace change and adjust as they go. They don't wait for absolute clarity. They move forward with faith in their ability to handle whatever comes. The unknown is a landscape of possibilities. Every closed door can lead to a new path. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Every experience, whether joyful or difficult, shapes you and strengthens you. A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. True freedom doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from realizing that you don't need to. When you release the need to predict the future, you will feel lighter. When you accept that life will always be unpredictable, you will become stronger. You don't have to know exactly what's next. You just have to trust that whatever comes, you are capable of facing it. Conclusion: your path to inner peace and resilience. We've just explored 7 powerful Stoic techniques to help you break free from anxiety, overthinking, negative emotions. From recognizing the strength of your rational mind to reframing your emotions and building resilience, these aren't just theories. They are practical tools you can start using today to reclaim your inner peace. True freedom starts from within. Remember, you can't control the world, but you can absolutely control how you respond to it. Life will always bring challenges, but with the right mindset, you can turn them into opportunities for growth and transformation. If this message resonated with you, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences and reflections. Know someone struggling with anxiety or negativity? Send this to them. You might just bring light into their day. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss more inspiring content. Your personal growth journey is just getting started. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Stay strong, stay mindful, and keep moving forward.